There are 31, I think. So we've got 8 cervical nerves, 12 thoracic nerves, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, 1 coccygeal. We did the math yesterday, yeah, that's 31. Okay? Spinal nerves are organized in plexuses. I'm going to map the plexuses, list them, and then we will discuss what this means. So you have cervical plexus, brachial plexus, lumbar plexus, and sacral plexus. So what is plexus? My favorite example is this. You need to get from here to University Circle. Okay? There's more than one way to do that. Right? You can take I-90 and then MLK, you can take 271 and then boulevards, or you can take some back roads, and, I mean, there's more than one way to get there. You see what I'm saying? So plexus is basically a network of fibers, of nerves. For instance, why is it important? So imagine that you have an organ, and this organ, or muscle, you have a muscle. We're going to take an example, diaphragm. Diaphragm is controlled by the fibers that come from first, second, third, and fourth spinal nerves. So if one spinal nerve is screwed up, this isn't an issue. You following me? Signal will still be able to reach your diaphragm and you will be able to breathe. Are we clear? So there's a picture in the notes of plexus, like that's all entangled and crisscrossing, and they merge and they separate. That's the whole idea. So basically each muscle is controlled by multiple fibers, and each part of the body sends the sensory signals through the multiple fibers. Are you following? Just checking that's recording. Okay, good. So, cervical plexus consists of, well, kind of C1 through C4. There's a little bit of C5 involved. Brachial plexus is C5 to C8. There is a little bit of first thoracic. Lumbar is lumbar nerve, and, not surprisingly, sacral plexus is sacral nerves and coccygeal nerve. Okay? Now, well, when we start talking, I'll explain what you need to know. Is there something missing? Which ones? Huh? Thoracic. Thoracic nerves do not form plexuses. Thoracic nerves form so-called intercostal nerves that run across between your ribs. Okay? So far we good? Now I forgot to say that each spinal nerve is extremely short. If we want to be very anatomically pedantic, look. This is the spinal nerve. So, then it branches and then it technically isn't. Okay, we're good? Now, can you see on this model, I'm trying to find a part that is most visible. Can you see on this model that spinal nerve branches here? Like there's a branch and a branch. Branch and a branch. Branch and then the branch. Those branches are called rami. You have ventral ramus. It's Latin, so weird plural forms. And dorsal ramus. Now, dorsal rami of spinal nerves, they innervate, they control a fairly narrow part of muscles, narrow ribbon of muscles in the back of your trunk. Does that make sense? So dorsal control very little. Ventral form all these plexuses, intercostal nerves, so they're like, these are more important, let's put it this way. Okay? Good? In each plexus, you can identify individual nerves that control certain things. What I'm going to do, I'm going to list the ones that you absolutely must know. Okay? Because, honestly, there's just too much information in the notes. Am I clear? And I promise, nothing beyond what I give you will be on the exam. I will not set you a trap like, oh, basically what I'm saying, if there is a disagreement between what I say here and what's in the study guide, believe me. I mean, I wrote study guide too, but I kind of I'm making a little addendum here. So for cervical plexus, both anatomically and physiologically, you need to know the following. No, wait, don't write it. Lesser occipital, that's the sensation from the back of your head, sensory nerve. Great auricular, sensations from these areas. Ansa cervicalis. It's a bunch of fibers that control deep muscles of your neck. Muscles, for instance, that allow you to speak. Okay? Good? You with me so far? And most important of them, phrenic, which controls your diaphragm. Okay, so this is why, how you breathe. So those four, again, know where they are. Images are all in the study guide. Know where they are, know what they do. Question is going to be pretty much the same type that we just discussed. Your phrenic nerve is damaged. What's going to happen to you? You're going to die because you can't breathe. Good? So brachial plexus. I am limiting the number of nerves that you need to know because there's so many of them there. So you need to know pectoral, which obviously controls your chesticles, chest muscles. Okay? Axillary, deltoids, shoulders. So if you have a problem with this, you won't be able to raise your hand like this. Okay? Musculocutaneous. Now, here it's fairly easy partitioning. Musculocutaneous innervates the ventral aspect of your upper arm here. What these muscles do, they flex your elbow. You see that? Musculocutaneous nerve flexes your elbow. With me so far? Good? Ulnar and median. This is my arm. Now look what, first of all, both of them do this, flexing your wrist. Ulnar does this. You following? Median does this. So you need both of them to make fist. Okay? But in order to do what's called an opposition of a thumb, I just need median. Good? If you... Questions? Can you see that? This little bump here? This is the medial epicondyle of your humerus bone. Medial nerve goes through the special I forgot the name, never mind. Kind of little groove there, okay? If you hit it, it's not so funny. We call it a funny bone, but it's not funny. Okay, basically when you hit a funny bone, you hit an ulnar nerve. Does that make sense? The last one in this list for brachial plexus is radial nerve. It is pretty large, and it goes all the way in the back of your arm. So it controls all the extensors. Are you following me? So it will control the extensors of the elbow, and it will control the extensors of your palm. So ability to do this, that's the radial nerve. Is that clear? Now, I told you before that all muscles are contracted for a bit. So they're basically playing a tug of war. When I hold my hand like this, my flexors and my extensors, they are even in the tug of war. They are at a draw. Does that make sense? Now imagine the radial nerve here is damaged, which means flexors will be winning. This is called a hand drop. It happens sometimes, especially if you sleep like this for a really long time. Okay? You can wake up with inability to raise. It will go back. Nerve will be fine. That makes sense? Lumbar plexus. Ilio-hypogastric. Ilio-inguinal. I'll go back to the function. Femoral. Obturator and gluteal. So, look. Ilio, hypogastric. Ilio, inguinal, abdominal. Muscles of the abdomen. That's all. Good? Gluteal. I hope everybody's familiar with the gluteus maximus, which is your buttocks. That's it. That general region, so basically extension of your hips. Okay? Femoral. Pretty straightforward. Anterior, very important, anterior aspect of your thigh. Good? So if you want to kick the ball like this, the signal will go through the femoral nerve. Okay? Obturator. I don't know if you can see it on the Benjamin, but it has a couple of foramen here. In the coxal bones. Those are called obturator foramen. So the nerve goes through that foramen, and it innervates, as a matter of fact, the medial aspects of your thighs. So muscles that allow you to move your legs closer to each other. It's called adduction of the leg. Doing this. Good? Okay, look at this. Sacral plexus. Sciatic. I'm lucky. I mean, I know what it is, but so far was okay with that. Largest nerve in the human body. Actually, it's two nerves tangled together. Sciatic nerve by itself. I'm actually going to be using this guy because it's much easier. So sciatic nerve goes in the back of your upper leg. Does that make sense? And will control your hamstrings. So it's kind of opposite to femoral. If femoral controls your quads, sciatic controls the hamstrings. Clear? So at the level of popliteal region, so the knee, it splits in the tibial and common fibular. Now, since I'm recording this, I don't want to step out and do some other weird stuff. Basically, tibial nerve mostly goes in the back of your leg. Lower, right here. Does that make sense? Controls your calves. So, good example of a movement that you would produce when the signal goes through the tibial nerve will be standing on your toes. That makes sense. Common fibular, more like ventrolateral surface. Your, not exactly shin, but you kind of get the point. And the signal goes through common fibular. You start standing on your heels. So you like, if this is the leg, if this is the foot, it'll go up with common fibular, and it will go down with tibial. So abnormalities, obviously, same story, tug of war. If tibial is screwed up, common fibular wins, you go into that position, kind of, it's, I don't know how people do that. Like, you start walking on your heels. If common fibular is screwed up, then tibial wins, and you're basically walking on your toes. This is called a foot drop, just like hand drop. That makes sense? The last one here is pudendal nerve. Pudendal nerve innervates specifically mucosa of the genitalia. It's sensory, entirely sensory nerve. Say again?
Sciatic.
Nerve or the condition? Huh?
The nerve.
The nerve goes from the sacral plexus and controls. I can't. I'm not flexible enough. Back of your upper leg.
Okay. Because when I was pregnant, I like had shooting pains in my stomach and my side, and they told me that was sciatic nerve, and it went down to my back.
Stomach sounds. Side can be, because side you mean here?
Yeah, like it was like side and then went through my back, and they said it was sciatic nerve, and I had to get over it.
I mean, I kind of, it sounds, let me pause it for a second. One more concept. I'm not going to put anything on the board. You saw the dude with bands of different color on the nose. Those are called dermatomes. Basically, here's the idea. In terms of sensations, different parts of the skin are innervated. The term innervated means kind of assigned a specific nerve, okay? Does that make sense? So, fibers that extend from, let's say, thoracic nerve 1 will mostly innervate here. Fibers that extend from lumbar to will mostly innervate here. Are you following me? What's the point? If you have a patient who has obviously some kind of spinal nerve damage, what you can do, you can take a pin, I'm kind of simplifying it, and poke the patient in different parts of the skin, asking, do you feel that? And if the sensation is messed up, then you can say, well, it looks like it's, I don't know, T11, T12. Dermatomes are not exactly precise. So, I mean, the boundaries that you see on the picture, they kind of really fuzzy. Make sense? But it helps to narrow down the search. There will be questions on dermatomes on both anatomy and physiology exams. If you try to convince me that thoracic dermatome 10 is in the neck, no. But I won't ask you which of the following dermatomes you can find in the abdominal region and then give you T6, T7, T8, T9. Right? It's like too broad. So most of my anatomy questions and physiology questions, well, questions of that kind, don't put aorta in the knee. Kind of question. You see, like very obvious. And on anatomy exam, there's going to be a dude with the arrows. And you just need to identify dermatome. Multiple choice. Like, what can be simpler? Questions? Okay.